Okay. To start off with, we need to launch GarageBand. You can launch it by clicking on the icon. You can also select by a spotlight search and find GarageBand. Occasionally what GarageBand will do will be open a project. Be sure you close that project for the group's sanity before you and get back to this window, which allows you to start an empty project. Go ahead and click Choose. And basically you're going to choose a track. There's 3 different types of tracks. I'm going to recommend that you pick this one with a microphone. It's a blue waveform track because it works best for what we're doing when we're working with GarageBand loops to build a song. There's green software instrument tracks, which I'll talk more about when I talk about musical keyboarding and note changes. And then there's a drummer, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but he drums an accompanying song and there's styles to play with, but we'll start with this to begin. And this is your basic opening interface. I want to focus a little bit here on this display. The display as default is set to beats and project. So it tells you how many beats there are on the timeline. There's your timeline marker right there. And it tells you what the tempo is. You can click and drag that up or down. It's number of beats per minute. Right now it's defaulting to 120 beats per minute. It lets you change the time signature, which is a little bit more than I know about music. And it also lets you change the key signature. In addition to that, it allows you to change it from beats and project to beats and time, which can give you the exact number of minutes and seconds that the song is. And wherever the timeline's at, you can get a sense of how long your song needs to be if you're trying to match it with a video. Up here, it usually has a default metronome on. I'm going to turn that off so that when I play it for the first time, it won't start clicking the beat. So to get started, and there's some play modes here too. I wanted to point out one: play, reverse to the end. This is the cycle button, and what it does is turns a section gold, and all it'll do really, if you're listening to like one part of it, is it'll go and it'll play that part over and over and over and over again, so you can keep making edits to it while you're listening to it. That's the function of the cycle button. Just wanted to show that because it's important. I'm going to move on to the loops menu, which is right here. And if you zoom in on the loop browser and click it, you don't have to zoom in, it'll still work if you don't. It'll show you the loop pack. It shows every single loop that the GarageBand has, but it gives you some abilities to filter it, which are useful. You can filter by instrument, by genre, by descriptors. So I'm going to choose an electric music, and I'm going to narrow it down to try to get dark. I want dark electric music to work with just for this project. And what it'll end up doing is help you match music that works well together, but also match the mood and tone of your film if you do it this way. When you're using that, you can click on just about any one of these and get a sound of get a listen to what it sounds like. So if you ever wanted to know exactly what it sounded like when robot basses are arguing, that's it. There's also a few other beats. And a lot of what you end up doing is listening to things until you find something you like. And when you do like it, you can drag and drop that loop all the way onto the track, and it shows up as a light blue waveform, showing the left and right audio clips. Now, a couple things that you can do with that track, just to point out here in track controls, you can adjust the volume. Not all tracks need to be loud. You can change the pan, which moves it from your left ear to your right ear with this dial. You can solo a track. You can mute a track if you don't like it anymore. Might as well delete it. You could take this and you can move it. You could take this and you can copy and paste it just like any other item. And you can also take this and loop it by grabbing the top right hand corner and continuing. So if you like it, you can keep playing that song for a while. Don't do it too long, it'll end up getting boring, but it'll work. Couple of techniques, just quickly. If you're putting together a song, you probably want to use more than one track. And if I've got this track as kind of my beat track, I'm going to just put the beat 2, armament beat 2, somewhere right here so that there's a transition, so that the music is changing throughout the song. I want to go from beat 1 to beat 2, and I can worry about what my next beat will be later. I'm also looking for something that's going to be a lead, or something that may work for, let's try a synth. So I'm going to take that synth and I'm going to create a brand new track just for that synth sound. And I'm going to have it start somewhere in between these two two beats. And I'm going to grab one more, let's do a little bit of bass. Now, a couple things that are important. If you do some of this, if you put some gaps, if you give instruments a chance to make their entrance and to make their exit and to be missed and felt, it really is different than filling up solid tracks of just just music constantly hitting at you. And I want you to be able to see and hear what this sounds like when you just make a couple of tricks like that. Because when you do that, when you leave gaps, when you look at timing, when you make instruments have an entrance and an exit, it really improves the quality of the song without a whole lot of effort. So let's hear what this sounds like together. Real quickly, I've created a song that I actually kind of like. I think I could use that for a sci-fi film or a dark mood, and it worked really, really well. So let's say I like that song, and it's time for me to finish this up. Well, first thing I want to do is save the file. I'm going to save this as though I was in the class, period, let's say 5, English, and I'll write dark mood music. I'm also going to target that on the desktop so that I can see it. Now that is the project file. It is not the song. If you want the song, you've got to do another step, which is share, export song to disk, and choose an MP3. And again, make sure that you give it a name. It's already done it for me, so I don't have to do it again. I'm going to export that out. Just pointing out that you've got two different types of files here. One is the project file, which you can tell because it shows kind of an overview of what the blueprint looks like, and this is the MP3. The MP3 is the music that I'm actually would use to put into a GarageBand song or into my movie. So it works really well with Adobe Premiere Pro. But there's a quick way to do that, because I could do my AirDrop there, or you could skip all that and click Share AirDrop. And what that'll do is the same thing. You can AirDrop the song or the project, but the song is what you want. Click Share, and it will turn that timeline into a song, and then it will open up an AirDrop interface and allow you to select a computer that you want to drop it to. And then that MP3 moves over to that computer, and you can move that MP3 into your file. So this is the basics for getting started, and I think that if you watch this tutorial, you'll probably get a lot out of it. Thank you for watching. Okay, so if you're back, you're here for some advanced tutorial on some additional things that you could do. I'm going to break this down into two sections. One will be affecting the tracks using automation, tempo, and track controls, and the other one will be the musical keyboard function and what you could do with that. So I'm going to start off with automation. If you remember this sick beat that I created in a previous tutorial, there's a button here that's called automation. It's A, and allows you to change the track so that you can see this yellow line, and this yellow line is basically a reflection of which property you want to automate and animate. So I'm going to just work with volume, but know that you can do pan, echo, and reverb, and it lets you change the track from by clicking on points and then increasing or lowering the volume. So if I want this song to fade in, I'm going to start at a low volume and let it gradually build as the song builds, and you should be able to hear that in the preview. And you could do that for every single track, and you could do that for every single property. So if I want to change, for example, let's play with the echo of that track. It's a different line. There's no echo, but I want to bring it to start to echo, let's say just after it reaches peak volume, so we should be able to hear it happen separately. Let's see what that sounds like. And it's only echoing that beat. Using the same technique, there's two other tracks that you can look at. The track that shows tempo, which allows you to do the same thing for the beats per minute. Instead of editing it at the beginning and setting it static, you can make the song get faster or slower at command by creating the keyframes and then moving the beat up and down at your will. You can also look at the master track, which lets you do similar things with volume and pan, but instead of panning or doing volume for just one track, you're doing it for the entire song. So if I do a master track volume adjustment here, it doesn't just affect one track, it affects the entire track. Another thing that you can do, I'm going to go ahead and turn automation off. there's the automation button. The toggle button is you can affect a track by changing the EQ of it. So I'm going to solo this track so that we can focus on just this, and I'm also going to cycle it so that we can hear what the EQ is doing to it. And I'm going to go ahead and put play. There's controls and EQ. We'll hear it, and you should see me making changes. And those changes are handled with just the track. So when I put that track together and I unsolo, that change affects that track, and it basically changes the sound of the song. So you can do it with these dials, or you can do it with the EQ dials. Either way, if you take control of each track, you can get a lot of different sounds out of every single track, every single loop that you see on GarageBand. So I'm going to move on to musical typing. Musical typing is an instrument track. So when you create a track for this, you want a green track. That's an instrument track because that's what you're going to record it to. And you're also going to want to use the window to show the musical typing keyboard. And the keyboard basically lets you play an instrument by playing the keyboard, or you can play it this way, which is more like a piano. However, for this demo, I'm just going to stick with the keyboard so we can demo it. You also notice that in the library you can change the instrument. So you've got a vast array of instruments. That one's big pulse waves. And again, all of the controls and EQ can change the sound of that instrument just like anything else. And when you're ready to record, if you want to do this, I'm going to do this because I think it works really well with the song. You're recording on that green track, which I believe was this one right here. Yes. So it's selected the track, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and click record. And I'm going to boost that volume up just so that I can hear it. Hopefully it mixed into the song well. You can see where it could take a lot of time. Now, one other thing to point out is if you have a green track, you also have the ability to edit that track on a note-by-note basis. And if you double-click on it, the display changes, and you can see the score where it shows you in music terms what you've got. And again, you could change this. Or you could do it as a piano roll where you can stretch the note out and again change the notes if you missed a note. So there's a lot of control using the keyboard to create a layer, and you can have it solo or you can have it be part of a larger project, but I wanted you to know how that worked. Thank you for watching. This concludes the advanced tutorial.